That's our topic for today's Point Counterpoint. And for that, I'm now being joined from London by Daniel Levy, President of the US Middle East Project. Mr. Levy, absolute pleasure having you here with us on the broadcast. Thanks so much for making time. From your experience, sir, do you feel Benjamin Netanyahu will abide by Donald Trump? Because these ultimatums from the White House, at least from this president, it's not the first time that they are being directed towards the Israeli Prime Minister.
First, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm not sure there is an ultimatum right now. You saw and you shared that now with your audience that there was American frustration that they were close to a deal with Iran. Lebanon was one of the sticking points. Israel was ratcheting up its aggression in Lebanon. And then there was this moment of don't bomb Beirut. There was a deal reached, the memorandum of understanding with Iran. However, since that frustration, a couple of very important things have happened. First of all, inside the American system, you saw, rather than adhering to what was agreed to with Iran in the memo of understanding, which included an Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon and full cessation of hostilities, they negotiated on a separate track. The track had been ongoing, but it then delivered a deal, the so-called trilateral framework, Israel, Lebanon, the US. And in that agreement, the Lebanese government, apparently under huge pressure, but doing itself and its country apparently a great disservice, agreed that Israel could stay in the security zone, agreed that any Israeli withdrawal would be conditional on things Lebanon would have to do, and Israel would be the judge and jury. So you, in fact, saw America step back from its apparent ultimatum to Netanyahu. And the second big thing that, of course, happened is that the memorandum of understanding itself is unraveling in front of our very eyes as we see the resumption of escalation and of mutual strikes between the US and Iran. So these talks in Rome that you have referenced regarding Israel, Lebanon, I don't think pose a real challenge to Netanyahu, to what he wants to do in Lebanon or to the US-Israel relationship right now.
Understood. You mentioned the memorandum of understanding. From there, let me move on to the next point, sir. US-Iran escalation. Now, is this exactly what Netanyahu has been waiting for? Because this would also give them a certain amount of leverage to continue with their actions against Hezbollah, backed by Iran.
Exactly right. The Israeli side was not enthusiastic about this memorandum of understanding. They didn't want the American-Israeli war against Iran, an emphasis here on America. They want America, they want American power to be used for Israel's benefit in further doing what it can to degrade Iran. They didn't like the memorandum of understanding. They lobbied against it. They continue to do so. They, of course, are joined by a significant cohort inside the American system who did not like this agreement. We see the topsy-turvy incoherence of the Trump administration. One day he's frustrated with the war. He's delighted with the new Iranian leadership. He wants to reach a deal. The next day he's frustrated with the deal. He throws all kinds of words to describe the Iranian leadership. He resumes the strikes. He basically deviates from the deal that he had agreed to. So from an Israeli perspective, the resumption of hostilities is exactly where Netanyahu wants this to be. As you note, it gives him a freer hand in Lebanon. It allows this regional arena of conflict, which Israel has been pursuing relentlessly. Netanyahu is a permanent wartime leader. I think doing great damage to Israel, by the way, not only in American public opinion, but in global public opinion. But it allows him to continue on that track of perpetual wartime leader. That's part of his election campaign. And we are now hearing reports that Netanyahu may well head to Washington, head to the US to meet with Donald Trump in the coming days.
Understood. From there, Mr. Levy, let's zoom out a bit. Let's widen the scope and look at what's really happening in West Asia as well. This time around, when hostilities have really resumed, it's now the fourth day of consecutive hostilities. It's not just sporadic anymore. It's on a regular basis. This time we're seeing Iran not just targeting the usual Gulf nations, they're also going after Oman. They're also going after Jordan more rapidly than earlier. And we've also now heard, and this had never happened before, the Houthis hitting Saudi Arabia. At what point do you feel the Gulf states will take security matters in their own hands and join the battlefield?
So I'm going to draw a distinction there among those points that you've raised, if I may.
Please go
I
ahead.
think what we see is Iran doing what it said it would do and doing what it has done throughout this conflict, which is if it is struck by America, then American bases, even though those are in the sovereign territory of states neighboring Iran, with whom Iran has relations, some relations are on a more sound footing, some are much more hostile, but it is hitting American bases, American targets, American radar facilities, American command and control facilities, as you note, in much of the Gulf. I think the intensity of the strikes is particularly this time focused on Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. I think there have been more sporadic strikes in Qatar and Oman. Qatar and Oman both have intense channels with Iran. That's not true of Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. And then you also need to pay attention to where there have not been Iranian strikes. Saudi Arabia. This time around, no Iranian strikes. Interestingly, also the UAE.
I'm just coming in there. When the Houthis attack Saudi Arabia and towards the south of that, everyone understands the Houthis are closely linked to Iran. Do you still find a distinction there? Back to you.
I do. And I also think that Saudi is to a significant degree making that distinction as well. And here's why I say that.
All right.
There was a Saudi decision to go after the airport in Sana'a, in the capital of Yemen, controlled by the Ansar Allah Houthi movement. When that airport was coming back into use, particularly there were flights, and this happened around the time of delegations going to the funeral, the long 4-day funeral of the assassinated former Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei, and Saudi chose to target that airport. The Houthis responded with an attack on the Abha airbase in southern Saudi Arabia. We have not yet seen a further escalation on that front. And in particular, what we have not seen is Houthi targeting of the Bab el-Mandeb, the strait there through which traffic passes. And one of the questions, and you know this, you've covered this extensively, one of the questions that has been on the analyst agenda throughout this US-Israel conflict against Iran is, would Bab el-Mandeb be brought into the frame? Would the Houthis do what they did previously, target vessels, target traffic through Bab el-Mandeb? They haven't done that yet, which suggests that so far at least, the re-escalation on the Saudi Houthi front, and remember, that war has been going on for a decade. There's been a kind of fragile ceasefire for the last 4 years, but fragile is the key word there. But we have not yet seen the Saudi Houthi escalation be part of a broader regional West Asia confrontation. So I think the jury is still out on that one. We may see it happen in the coming days, and it may be that Iran decides that if America intensifies its strike, if Trump makes good on his threat to conduct further war crimes by targeting desal facilities, bridges, infrastructure in Iran, that we may see not only infrastructure gone after in the Gulf and elsewhere, but we may see Bab el-Mandeb come into the equation. It hasn't happened yet.
I see a contrary perspective to that, Mr. Levy, if I may, because when Iran was targeting Saudi Arabia directly, even then Saudi Arabia did not hit back. So regardless of whether they distinguish between Houthis and the Iranians, they have not hit back either side. So one will need to wait and watch whether they see the two together or they see it separately. And that really is where my question also is rooted in. At what point the Gulf will decide, do we need to pay America for our security, or should we just go ahead and keep our national security in our own hands and get involved militarily? What's the larger good? Where does the larger good reside in for the Gulf nations? We'll need to wait and watch. It's a very, very complicated scenario. It only seems to be getting murkier and more violent, unfortunately. There will be more to discuss. Mr. Levy, absolute pleasure speaking with you on Point Counterpoint. More to discuss. I would look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you. Good to be with you. I, by the way, think that when they look beyond American security guarantees, they are not just thinking about attacking Iran. They're also thinking about what future relations do they have with Iran and what else do they do? How do they think about security in West Asia beyond the role of the US. And that's about where they purchase weapons, who else they have relationships, what kind of hedging. So it's a much bigger question. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and I converge with you on that. So on that discussion, we'll start it off again next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks.